short back and sides, please, and a pint and some salt and vinegar crisps. Today is the 4th of July 2020, when pubs, restaurants, bars, hairdressers all opened up again, which I am truly grateful for, especially the hairdressing department. But I'll get to the hairdresser at some point in time. It's not really as urgent for me because I was lucky enough to have a girlfriend to cut my hair. But I digress. Short back and sides and a pint and some crisps. There are going to be so many people today who, after about 103 days of being locked inside, of being on alert, of having to distance themselves from other people, they're finally going to get to go back to these pubs. They have the option to go back to these pubs, get their hair cut, go to these bars and restaurants, which is important for the economy. However, what I want to talk about, or the reason I want to talk about this reopening, is because of what I said at the start, because of the title of it, which is short back and sides and a pint and maybe some crisps, because that is what I used to have myself if I went to the pub, although mine was increasingly more a pint of cranberry juice and lemonade or something, cranberry and soda, rather than a pint, just because the pints went through me. But I want to talk about how it's the equivalent of when we deny ourselves something, like the pub, like the hairdressers. When we deny ourselves something, we want it so bad, and that is what is going to be driving so many people's behaviour this weekend, because they've not been able to go to the pub, they've not been able to get their hair cut, or their roots done, or whatever it is, for about 3 months. 3 months of going teetotal in terms of, well, not teetotal, but going without, of having to deny themselves the luxury of going to the pub and of getting their hair cut and stuff. And I liken that to the all or nothing approach that so many people take week after week, month after month, year after year. And that is taking the all or nothing approach and denying themselves things like going to the pub and getting their hair cut. And the minute they say that to themselves, the minute they say it, it's all that they can think about. It's all consuming. Like the number of people who I know who they start, okay, say it's Sunday, and it's like, okay, I'm going to be good this week, and I'm going to cut out all sugar, I'm going to cut out all chocolate from now till forever, until my last dying day. A high percentage of those people never manage it. And the reason is because of the psychology of the fact that if you cut yourself off, if you go down that all or nothing approach, it seldom works, because it's so difficult. It's like you're stripping all the enjoyment out of your life. It's like, unless you have to, unless it's kind of life-threatening, usually we're cutting these things out on some kind of health kick, right? Whereas I think a much healthier kick is to actually moderate things. And it's not rocket science. It's not the first time you've heard people say moderation works, but it's the reality of it. It's about giving yourself moderation, not cutting things out, but maybe allowing yourself to have the stuff, to be a certain way some of the time, but not all of the time, because that behaviour in the past has got you to where you are now to make you want to cut it all out forever. So rather than cutting it all out, and then the second you have a wobble and you have a little bit of the pint of going to the pub, of the chocolate or whatever, instead of that, then snowballing into you going, screw it, I've failed now, I might as well just start again next week, or I'll start again next week. Instead of doing that, give yourself that allowance, give yourself 80-20 in terms of percentages, in terms of 80% of the time doing the stuff that you know is going to be good for you, and 20% of the time doing stuff that isn't necessarily going to push you in the right direction, but it's life. It's like what you get to enjoy, right? There's no point beating yourself up and living the life of a monk if you don't want to, if you have the choice not to. If it's a priority in terms of if it's a case of life or death, then yeah, definitely go for it, right? But if otherwise, then it's actually just about being sensible, finding a way that works for you for the long term, as in finding a way that you know that you can sustain for the long term. Like, could you, looking at this situation right now, could you realistically sustain not drinking for the rest of your life? If you can, then bully you, go for it. If you can't, then you need to find a way to make it work that doesn't harm you, ultimately. Doesn't harm you, right? So, short back and sides and a pint and some crisps. The reason I brought that title up was because it's about sustainability. Again, I liken it to you or someone you know taking that all or nothing approach, and I implore you to either get them not to do it or for you to not to do it yourself, because no one ever sticks to it. And how much fun is it really? It never is, right? It never is. So have a good Saturday. Enjoy whatever you're getting up to. If you've had your hair cut, then let's have a look. If you're having a drink, then stay away from each other. Still stay, 2 meters apart. You'd have to get me to tell you that and remind you. But yeah, go for moderation and think about that tomorrow if you're nursing a hangover and checking out just how low your ears are after that lovely haircut you've had today. Take care.